Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jam Yearbook. I am Matt.
And I'm Jim. Welcome to the final anniversary show of the year.
Yeah, we always complain every time we go through this. December just sucks. It's a wasteland for finding new releases because it's December. You know, we're too busy
Yeah,
listening to
yeah.
Mariah Carey.
I actually went through every single year before we did this show just to see if
Mhm.
there was something there that we
Oh,
could talk about.
same. I
And
saw Queen, Flash Gordon.
yeah,
We could come on here and take turns going, Flash.
the
Uh,
Simpsons sing the blues. I mean,
Clash Sandinista, which
okay,
would be good. AC/DC TNT, but
yeah,
still,
yeah. That was
ah,
it.
what are we gonna
A
do? Yeah, it's awesome.
lot of
It's
Anne
not
Murray's
awesome. It's
Christmas
awful.
albums or something.
Oh God. Oh jeez. Put on Snowbird for me, Jim.
Okay.
So, and just like we normally do, we ran the poll in our Facebook group. We got their top 5 albums to discuss, and Jim and we have our album to discuss. So we'll talk about 7 albums total. So let's get a move on so we don't keep the people here too long.
Yeah, sometimes we do get surprised with what people pick and what they don't, though, before we get going, because we had big names. John Lennon, ABBA, Neil Diamond. We're coming to America. The jazz singer, Neil Diamond,
That
did not
I
make the
still listen to
show.
that album because I'm like, even if it doesn't get picked, I mean, it's still a good
It's
listen,
still good.
Yeah. I'm very surprised ABBA. I thought the name alone would have probably
I
got
thought
that
so.
going.
I had Super Trooper when I was a kid. I own the
Yeah.
album.
But I
Yeah.
listened to it and I'm like, you know what? Maybe ABBA is just one of those bands, outside of the hits, it's kind of not the best.
If it had
But the
been
hits,
ABBA Dancing Queen, it probably would have been on the show.
yes, 100%. And but Queen, Night at the Opera. Night at the
Yeah.
Opera, I think was right there. Bohemian Rhapsody was right there. And shame on everybody, me included, because I didn't pick that album either. So, but I think we all know that Queen is awesome, and maybe that's what everybody else was thinking too. We know everybody loves Queen. Let's give some love to something else.
The thing I found shocking about it was even with the British people, I think we had a couple of votes from some of my British friends. Scottish for those who are offended by being called British. Uh,
Yeah,
but
Jimmy.
Bohemian Rhapsody often winds up as being the number one song of all time when they run end of year song. There's this poll they do on a couple of radio stations, and they always do the top 500 songs of all time. And it's always interesting because, when you
Mm.
get to the top 100 and then to the top 50, every once in a while, there's a song that shows up that was never in the poll at all, even after
Oh,
listening to this
I
list
like
year after
that.
year. And it's kind
Otherwise,
of
why go
cool.
through it again?
But you get to the end and you get to the top five, and it's almost always the same. And it's always Bohemian Rhapsody at the
So,
top.
do we blame Wayne's World for that?
Maybe for our American friends not voting for it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, and for the resurgence of Bohemian Rhapsody.
It never went away in Britain, dude. You come over
Did it?
here,
It didn't.
you come over to the UK. Nobody wants to talk to you about the Beatles or Led Zeppelin or even the Rolling Stones. They all want to tell you that Queen is the greatest rock band that ever lived and that there's nobody else
You know
other
what? Damn it. I'll plant a flag there too. Right? I'll listen to Queen just because I love the Beatles, right? But
than.
there is a more of a fatigue there. Rolling Stones never really, they just never did it for me.
Dude, Zeppelin?
Uh, Zeppelin, I think there's just a big fatigue factor.
Okay.
Not to discredit their importance and
But you
everything and
can't
how
wear
awesome they
Queen
were.
out. You can't wear Queen out, and that's what makes them
No,
great.
because man, with Queen, I can always kind of like just pick out something different, something new to
Well,
appreciate.
yeah.
And
I mean,
Queen's
they've
freaking
got four
awesome.
four different members of that band, the four members all in the Singer-Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why.
But okay, we talked about Queen even when we probably shouldn't have, because Queen is awesome. But let's get going. I think we start in '95. Is that where we're going
Yeah, there's
with
nothing in
Coolio?
2000. Nothing in
Yeah,
2000 worth
and
talking
that's
about.
not a surprise either because
But on the
uh,
last show, there were like three albums from the 2000 era.
was there? Wow,
Rolling,
because
rolling, rolling. Remember hearing that
fuck
again?
you. Why you gotta bring that up? And you know what? Because I think you reach a point in probably like the mid '90s where shit just doesn't go away. It doesn't have a chance to come back,
Yeah,
right?
well,
It's
yeah.
always there. But anyways, '95, Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise. My
Woo!
least favorite rap era, if I can really claim to have a favorite era of rap. And so I'll leave this more up to you. So you were out more playing in bands.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much this was on your radar, but if this was out in like 88, this would have been prime Jim Jam
Definitely.
territory.
Yeah. Definitely would have been. And you're right. I was out playing with bands 1995. It wasn't something that I was listening to at the time. I don't think you could get away from the Gangsta's Paradise video on
No.
VH1 playing over and over and over again because I can just see Michelle Pfeiffer in that leather jacket and that school being the tough teacher. And the minute I hear that song, I see that.
Ah.
But I've got a funny story related to this album, and I want to share it on the show. So, true story. I like to tell this. My first year at Camp Howe, a summer camp that I worked at for 4 years, I was the performing arts instructor. And each week I would write scripts, plays, base them on something or develop it with the kids. And they came in on a Sunday and I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for them to perform on Thursday night. And it was a difficult task to put on a 15 to 20-minute play that you were going to get these kids that only showed up to rehearse with you for a couple of hours a day over that time. And then you sent them away and you were like, learn your lines, come back, please, know what you're going to say. And I kind of got tired of it. So because it was performing arts instructor. You know, Matt, that I took dance classes and stuff like that when we were in high school. We had the wonderful dance class with Sherry Skirtall, our dance teacher.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and I was in the dance company that was in our town that we grew up in. And it was mostly jazz dance. So
Yeah, it was
one
mostly
week,
Jim chasing girls.
yeah, well, hey, you got to do what you got to do. I didn't play
Yeah,
football like you,
exactly.
so I wasn't the guy I wasn't the jock, you know. But no offense to jocks, if you're listening to Scotland here, it's a completely different meaning in America.
Oh yeah, American
Yeah,
football.
but anyway, I got so tired and fed up with that one week I said, you know what? I'm gonna teach dance to these kids. And I was thinking about music, going through songs. Of course, your summer camps, you have to find something that's appropriate for them to dance to lyrically and things like that. And somebody had brought the Coolio CD to camp, and I think during the regular like Wednesday night camp dances that were taking place, the song was getting played, and I picked the song "One Two Three Four" something new by Coolio because when you brought the kids out and you wanted to start the dance, you didn't have to count for them. You know, do the one, two, three. The song actually counted in one,
Okay.
two, three, four. Then we start dancing on the floor, and that's what
As
well, that's not
Jim
what the
taught
song
them the
says, but
chicken
that's
dance.
yeah. I'm having pretty good dance and chicken dance, but yeah, it was fun to listen to this week. I think one of the things that you'll find even funnier about it though is that in order for me to get all of the kids to learn this dance, even within that short time frame, because teaching a group of 7 to 11-year olds a 3.5, 4 minute dance routine takes a lot of work.
Hmm.
I had to stand up front and lead them on all of it. So if you'd come to the talent show that night, you would have seen me standing in the front with all these kids lined up around me so they could see what I was doing and leading them back and forth through it. And I'm sure, you know what? I like to dance. It was a good time. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But that and Gangsta's Paradise were really the only two songs I knew off the album until this week, and I did not know how laden it was with these pop hooks that were out there.
Yeah. I struggle with, everybody. I like, I tolerate. No, I like. I like Dre and Snoop. I'm not a deep listener, but I can't say I hate what they do. And Coolio's probably in that same. It just with me, rap always sounds like it's so trying to be in the now, in the present, that it can lead to being very dated.
Hmm.
So that's where I kind of struggle with rap. It just doesn't age well for me. But what I like about rap is, and I think it shares this DNA with punk, where it can be about speaking out about social issues and
Hmm.
rebellion. But there are some I like the 1 2 3 song 4 song. Sorry, I forgot how to count there. Obviously, Gangsta's Paradise. Ghetto Highlights was kind of
Mm-hmm.
cool. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of gave me, if you remember the song "Summertime" by Fresh Prince and
Yeah,
DJ
yeah, yeah,
Jazzy
yep,
Jeff,
yep,
it
yep.
kind of gave me that thing right there. But so like "Gangster's Paradise," I mean, I knew this song was there. I didn't really pay whole much attention to it, but there much made of him using the Stevie Wonder song,
At the time, I don't think there was.
"Pastime Paradise"?
Yeah, yeah, Pastime Paradise. I remember somebody telling me that, and I listened to a lot of Stevie Wonder, but I think Pastime Paradise is off Songs in the Key of Life.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that's a big album. That's a giant
Yeah.
album. And for
And
some
this
reason,
song really is true to that
oh
"Pastime
yeah.
Paradise." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But for some reason,
More than a nice
that
reputation.
wasn't like the memorable song in my time that I'd walked away.
Really?
Sir Duke is one of my favorite
Oh,
songs of
yeah.
all time.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
for some reason, Pastime Paradise wasn't there. And yeah, I don't think there was much controversy over that. It was one of those like talking points. Whenever the song came on, you could turn to somebody and be like, "Do you know that the hook on
Well, yeah,
this is
that's where I
Stevie
was coming at. I
Wonder
wasn't
past?" But it wasn't controversial. It was
No,
just,
I wasn't coming at it from, oh, was it a controversy? No, it would just would have been nice if Stevie Wonder got, some
oh,
extra
people
attention.
talked about it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I was made aware of
Okay.
it, even though at the time I
Okay.
had no clue that's where it came from. As I got more into Stevie and as you know, I dug deeper, there probably would have been a day I would have had that album on and I would have been like,
Yeah.
oh,
You would
shit,
have been that guy
this is
at the end of the
Coolio.
bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was kind of neat to hear Cool in the Gang with the
Yeah.
whole too hot thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's a band that you don't hear much about
No,
anymore.
I bet you if we listen to some Beastie Boys albums, though, we'd hear Cool and the Gang sampled a lot
Maybe,
more.
but yeah, I mean, anything beyond Celebration, though, I think it's pretty hard to find.
Yeah, and Too Hot was probably their next biggest hit to Celebration.
Yeah, yeah,
Although I like
I
Joanna.
would agree.
But anyway. I
Joanna. What is
love
it? Ladies'
you.
Night.
Ladies Night. Yeah, that's a good song too. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Jungle
Back to
Boogie.
Coolio.
Okay, hey, let's not the Cool in the Gang show. Yeah. And there was another song, "Smiling." Uh, the vocal kind of reminded me of Macy Gray.
Yeah, yeah,
Smiling.
yeah,
But then I
yeah.
looked at and I listened to the song that it was interpolated from, like, oh, not the Isley Brothers.
And
Okay.
that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, it all made sense. So moving on out of 1995 into 1990, we got Whitney Houston. "I'm Your Baby Tonight," Jim.
Yeah.
So
No, you're not.
no, no, honestly, I'm gonna cry.
You're my baby every night, Matt.
Yeah, this I was really regretting this thing winning. But then I listened to it and I didn't hate that it won
Mhm.
because this definitely got me out of my comfort zone. And I don't mind being taken out of my comfort zone when I have to. I'm typically not going to do it on purpose, like a lot of people. And it's because of pop. Pop in general will do that. So I went in solely with the purpose of marveling at her voice and what she could do.
Mhm.
Put modern day singers to shame. Who be the auto tune era. She did
Mhm.
not need it. Her voice is. I don't know if she could sing a bad note.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
nearly perfect on this.
Yeah, the title track "I'm Your Baby Tonight" when I was researching the album, I found out that she recorded that in one take. She was very busy doing award shows, running around concerts, things like that. And of course, the way pop music works, the musicians go into the studio a lot of times and get that song written ahead of time and then the singer comes in and they lay down the vocal. And that's what happened with this. And she went into the studio, and what you hear on this album, "I'm Your Baby Tonight," what you've heard on the radio was all just one take. And when you read that, and then you go back and listen to it, and you hear all the little nuances that she puts into it, you realize that there's a natural talent there that was just one of a kind. It was just pure and I don't know, like angelic music vocals or music vocal, but pure and angelic vocals that have been kind of unmatched.
Yeah, no, I get where you're going there. It's like a God, believe or not, it's God's gift. I mean,
Mm,
she had something special. It just, these kind of songs just they aren't my jam. It's just
yeah.
not my style. But I came away with it going, there's no arguing what an amazing talent she
Yeah,
is.
I think off the
She's
album
amazing.
itself, I appreciated the ballads of the slower songs more
Of course, the
than
ballads.
the gym, but the Jim Jam songs have those cheesy drum beat kind of things going on.
Oh, yeah, it's
And
definitely got that quality. This was probably this came out 90 late, well, November. Matt learned how to
yeah,
show.
but I think even for me in 1990, I think it was still a little too sugar coated for me. Belle Biv DeVoe came out earlier in the year, and
Oh, it's very similar to that.
but
Yeah.
I was still probably dancing around to Poison, or Do Me or something like that. But this just didn't have that same. There was something about it that just didn't. It was still too safe. It was Whitney Houston. There was no edge to it.
Yeah, and I would say what I think the main thing that bugged me about it was, and it kind of puts it in a new light with you saying that, her vocals were one take and everything. It's like just the people in charge of the production
Hmm.
of it really didn't do the greatest job. Everything just sounds sterile and lifeless.
Yeah.
It just sounds too pretty.
Yep.
It may, and that's probably why Whitney sang it the way she did, but she could sing the phone book and it'd still be awesome. So,
Yeah.
anyway, done with Whitney. We'll move on to the next 1995, and it is Tesla's five-man acoustical jam.
I can
Glad
imagine
you
you were, yeah, I was gonna imagine you were pretty excited when this album, when I put this on, because this is like a weird, like kind of more like a greatest hits and a covers album, which we
are.
don't normally include, but I think
Yeah,
this one kind of stands out on its own. And yeah, it was great to have on this week
yeah, and I was a
or
little
this
surprised.
month.
It 100% held up.
Hmm.
Live albums can be tricky for me. Hey, they even made me like a Grateful Dead tune for crying out loud. So I guess they did something right, And did it cause me to revisit,
Really, Matt?
those
You're not
early
looking. You're not
Tesla?
looking.
Oh, geez. Grateful Dad. I mean, dead. Yeah. Yeah. I ended up going back and re-listening to those early Tesla albums.
Hmm.
Great,
Yeah.
great,
One
great,
thing
great.
I always found interesting with Tesla is the run of hits that they had, but I don't know a single member of Tesla. Like they had some pretty big hits out there,
Yeah.
but I don't know any of the names of the members of the band. Like I know Motley Crue, I know Vince and I know Tommy and I know Poison. I've got Brett and I've got CC and I go to even if I go to Cinderella, I've got Tom Kiefer. Or if I go over to Warrant at this time, I've got Janie Lane. You knew these
Frank,
people.
Tommy, Brian, Troy, and Jeff.
You know
There you
all of them. Of
go.
course you do. Yeah. But I didn't know that as somebody who was just like a casual fan of this kind of music at the time. But I guess maybe that was a good thing because when you think about those other guys from the 80s and that era, they were, the hair metal era that they were all in,
Mm.
they were kind of caricatures of themselves, whereas Tesla never was.
Yeah, and every time I want to argue that Tesla isn't a hair band, I feel like I fall short of convincing anybody, even myself, that they weren't, just because the timing was there. Right.
Yeah.
If there
Hmm.
was no such thing as hair metal, you'd probably call them hard rock.
Hmm.
Uh, you know,
I do think they sound like more like early to mid 70s hard rock than they sound like
yes, yeah, and they weren't just singing about having a good time
no,
and
their
going
songs
out
were,
partying and this and
yeah.
that, getting with all the ladies.
Hmm.
Their songs weren't all about that.
Hmm.
Um, so Mechanical Resonance was like 86, 87. So that was still in peak of hair metal being, just absolutely wild, peacocky
Hmm.
BS. Now that you look on it, it's kind of funny. But they kind of get lumped in with hair, like Stone Temple Pilots or Collective Soul kind of get lumped in with grunge, maybe.
Okay. uh, Sex type thing off core is a grunge song.
It's a grunge song. I
Yeah.
would I would say they fit, but I mean, then you want to get into that whole conversation is what, define grunge, right? STP was an LA band, San
Mhm.
Diego or LA. I can't remember.
Drop D.
But anyway, yeah, Drop D and sludgy songs. Does that make a grunge, or
Mhm.
were they, or maybe producers, record labels going, oh, we kind of got to fit with what is in now because these are good songs. Of course,
Mhm.
great album. Uh, But anyway, let's get back to Tesla. We're not
Okay.
talking about psychopaths.
We have no problem going off the rails today.
No, 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 not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, during the time period of this album, I would even say because this album's really based upon, well, it's acoustic versions of earlier songs they put on their real electric albums. I don't think they're between 1989 and 1991, whether it was the original version or off of this. There wasn't a mixtape that I made for a girl that didn't have love song on it.
Oh,
And I when I started playing guitar and playing acoustic, I spent hours on the end of my bed trying to learn how to play this intro. I could never could. Sorry. And I'm not going to admit that I could pull that off. I learned a lot of it. And then I think I got to a point where I was just like, this is just too hard. And I'm just going to start strumming the chords now and singing it to
yeah,
you. I do
yeah.
what I do like about Love Song though in songwriting is how it's a very minor key in the core or the verse.
Okay.
And then when it goes to the chorus and then the outro, it goes to a major key. And I like how it does that shift. So it creates like that downer part and then the hopefulness that you get
Yes.
when you go from a minor to a major and the feeling you get from music. It was great. But yeah,
Yeah.
I when I was learning how to play acoustic guitar 1990, 1991, and an album like this really validated a guy like me. So I was happy to have it.
Yeah. And this is 100% it's just a fun album, right? And, the band, they give a great performance, but what really makes it is you hear the crowd.
Mm.
They know the material.
The
They are
cover
having fun.
the
They are
cover of the
ball.
Beatles We Can Work It Out is so good.
Oh, it is. And they only played like what, 20 seconds? It would have been great if
Yeah,
they could have,
I know. I just
yeah,
want to hear the
right.
whole thing.
Yeah. And this album is a couple years before the whole Clapton and Nirvana unplugged MTV
Do you know
shows
they
really exploded.
do you know
So
they
they
went
were kind of
back?
on the cutting edge of
Do you
that.
know they went back and re-recorded this in Abbey Road?
Oh,
And like
really?
yeah, 2020 or something like that, or after the 2020, or no,
No, I didn't
I would
know
say
that.
early 2000s or somewhere. But yeah, they went back and re-recorded the album. Uh, excuse me. Sorry, everybody. Uh, the yeah, it was interesting to hear the different versions. It's very much the same thing,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, I think if you want to go look, you might find your Beatles full
Oh, okay.
version there.
Well,
So
I will make a note of that.
yeah,
I'll write a note to myself, Jim. There we go.
can I announce the next album? You good for that?
You may.
All right,
Personally, I don't disagree with that, Jim.
let's do it. I'm gonna do it anyways. Uh, REO Speedwagon, High Infidelity,
One of 1980's big
1980.
albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right away, this probably isn't a popular opinion amongst my hipster musical friends out there, but REO Speedwagon, sorry, I'm burping, I'm stumbling over my words. Hello, beer.
Hello.
REO Speedwagon was a really good band. They may be remembered for these cheesy ballads, but they had one of the best, most pure classic rock sounds come out of the 80s. I Before we go any further, because this isn't in the notes, I love Roll with the Changes by them
Mm,
previous to this.
yeah.
If ever I'm in a bad place in my life and I'm shifting from one place to the next, I put Roll with the Changes on. It just I don't know, for some reason I feel like I'm Adam Sandler in a movie when I'm walking out at the end and I'm victorious of something. And also when I first put together the band Cinderblock Baby, I gave Lenny a tape of songs to listen to and to, listen to the drumming and, this is what I liked. And I think he looked at me like I was crazy. But when REO Speedwagon's Riding the Storm Out was on that cassette that I gave him to listen to. I have a lot of respect for REO Speedwagon, but yeah, this was a great band that I think gets a lot of flack from people. They're kind of the funny band
They're
from that time.
sorry, I'll get up so people can hear me. They're a pretty easy band to pick on, right? They had been around quite a while
Hmm.
before this album came out. So they were really polished, well, musically, but really the sound of the album is very kind of like thin for my ear.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not
yeah.
really like ballsy rock and roll. And a song like In Your Letter doesn't do them any favors when you want to be like a badass rock band. It's very like in your letter, ooh, ooh,
Yeah,
ooh,
yeah, yeah,
ooh.
yeah. And I,
It's a little too cutesy. Not a bad song,
but
but
it's
it's
yeah.
like a big speed bump in that record for me.
And I, had really kind of forgotten about the ballads. It'd been so many years since I put on an REO Speedwagon album.
Yeah.
But the first song, the title track, "Don't Let Him Go." The
Oh,
first moment I heard that, I immediately remembered how much I loved the song as a kid.
yeah.
And I've spent the week, I've said it now. I'm going to probably spend the rest of the night with my head going, but don't let him go.
Go.
And yeah,
Yeah, great song.
yeah, Take It on the Run, still a classic. And, Keep on Loving You is probably one of their top one or two ballads,
Hmm.
that was timeless of that era.
Yeah, don't let him go. Fantastic opening track. Again, if the sound stage was opened up and really got full, but you can tell that this, to me at least, it sounds like it's written to be a show opener.
Dun,
That
dun,
whole
dun,
yeah, that
dun,
bass
dun,
drum intro.
dun,
Um,
dun, dun,
yeah,
dun.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you got the bitch and keyboard solo and then a guitar solo. It's like everybody
Yeah.
gets a spotlight early on
REO,
in the
REO
show.
Speedwagon has two lead guitar players in it. So
Oh,
it's
I didn't
it's
know that.
yeah, it's always fun to watch them live. If you can go back and watch them on YouTube and some of their live
Okay.
stuff, they've got two guys that play lead, and the two guys will stand in the center of the stage and just trade back and forth, kind of like Leonard Skinner-esque. I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, yeah, they are a classic rock band, but they're kind of like a cheesy 80s hair metal band when it comes to rock bands.
they
When
probably
two
birthed
lead
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
two lead guitarists trading off solos.
Well, do you think the way that like heavy metal, not heavy metal, the way that hair metal had to go to that shift of ballads, because we saw that happen for them to rise in the charts. Every one of these bands we talked about before,
Mhm.
Poison, Warren, all these guys had ballad songs. Do you think that happened to these classic rock bands as well?
Yeah, and I kind of hate to admit that. I'd like it to be, a really rockin' tune that breaks a band, but it typically is a damn
Mm.
ballad for whatever reason. And this is the album that finally broke REO Speedwagon. They had some mild hits, and the success of this probably brought some of those other songs to the forefront. Uh, Keep on Loving You was the song that did it for him. They followed up with Take It on the Run, which is maybe like a mid tempo, kind of like it's kind of a ballady, but then it kind of picks up. So if you're gonna do back to back ballady kind of songs like that, it's gonna get your band a certain reputation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I have a sneaking suspicion that if you were to look up their 10 most streamed songs, and I'm not a huge fan of doing that because I don't auto plays can kind of figure into that too. But if you were to take their top 10 streamed songs, I guarantee you those two and uh Can't Fight This Feeling are
No,
probably
yeah,
in the
yeah.
top three,
Those are going to be the top
if
three.
not top
Yeah,
four.
yeah.
Right? It's going to be ballad,
No,
ballad,
it's going to be
ballad.
those. Yeah.
For good or bad. And you could probably
Mhm.
repeat that with Styx, Journey, and it's always going to be, there's going to be
Mhm.
exceptions, but it's
Yeah,
going to be a
you're right.
ballad
You're right.
that really is a band's peak song.
Mhm.
And if Beavis and Butthead were around in like so the 80s, their friend Stuart, who wore the
The
winger
winger
shirt,
T-shirt. Yeah.
yeah, right. He
Yeah.
would be, they'd probably have like ACDC and uh I don't know,
Motorhead.
Led Zeppelin or whatever, Motorhead,
Yeah.
right? And he would have REO
Yes,
Speedwagon,
he would.
right? So he would be getting all the hate onto the band because some loser wore the shirt. Okay, so so enough of that, and we'll move on to the biggest disappointment that we've ever
Mm,
had. I'd like to say this was a participation trophy, but it's Steely
yeah,
Dan
it's Steely
and
Dan.
Gaucho
We don't talk a lot about Steely Dan on the
for
show.
good reason.
But I can understand that there are probably are listeners out there, people
You're
in the
being
Facebook
nice.
poll that they're seeing Steely Dan and they're relating it to a happy memory or something of a
Yeah.
song. Because Steely Dan was one of those bands that put out several albums from the mid to late '70s through the early '80s that all had a radio hit on. So I think this is like kind of the name recognition and the time to pick Steely Dan. I would say at least Gaucho only took 38 minutes to listen to. It makes it a little bit easier. But it did take 42 different musicians to make those 38 minutes. Yeah. So I think part of our reason as to why we don't care for Steely Dan as much is because we can actually hear the pretentiousness in the perfection
Mm.
that they're looking for in all of their songs. They got some great musicians that play for them, but
Yeah, but it just oozes
yeah,
of
it does.
pompousness. And
Mm.
normally I praise albums for the short run times, but for here, it's just, this album just wouldn't end. I w- ah. And I was really kind of not looking forward to it, but I'm like, maybe this is the time where mm, I make that connection with Steely Dan.
But
But
no,
no,
no.
I'm still going to be happy to come on here and bitch and moan about Steely Dan, though, you know. And no offense, hey, that's your jam, that's your jam.
Mhm.
But their music is so hyper smooth and ultra pasteurized for your protection, right? You're never going to catch a virus from
Yeah.
Steely Dan. It
This
is
is
so
this is
clean.
this is like pop rock with the condom over the top of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you make all the, oh, they were really into cocaine or whatever. I don't give a shit. This music is sterile.
Mhm.
It is so sterile.
Yep.
I
Yep.
I I put on the Devo documentary on Netflix, and I just binged Devo to
Just
just to feel something in my heart again
that's funny.
because
I
I
was
was so
surprised.
numb from Steely Dan.
I was surprised with how much support the album got in the poll.
Yeah,
But it, like
because
I said,
Queen was right there.
there was, yeah, they were there. And I can only take Steely Dan in small doses. If I'm listening to classic rock radio and one song comes on, I might even sing along to it. Ricky, don't lose that number. I can go
Yeah,
along, with
yeah,
something like that. But I don't
but
want
there's
to.
got to be a song setting it up
Yeah, yeah.
to make
But
it
they're kind of like
acceptable.
rushed to me a little bit because I appreciate what they're trying to do musically. I do. There's something that they want to achieve in that you can hear it, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm ever in the right frame of mind to wrap my head around what's going on. I probably would listen to more Rush than I would Steely Dan to say that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I would say Asia, one album of the year back in the 70s, 78, 79, somewhere in there. If you want to listen to a Steely Dan album, go back. This is the song or the album that should have been on the poll that we would have listened to and been like, you know what? Steely Dan's not really the worst thing in the world. Hey,
yeah,
yeah. But
no,
Gaucho's not that album.
yeah. A cheese stands alone there. I think if you were to put a greatest hits on here, I'd be like, oh, okay. I don't mind a greatest hits of Steely Dan.
Mhm.
But again, I'd probably listen to two songs. I'm like, oh, something different,
And
and then I'll come back.
I'll come back.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it's because we've had this conversation with Rush since you brought them up. The whole Prague thing. Just count to four, and I'm happy. But sometimes maybe this music just makes me feel dumb, and that's why I rail against it. Uh,
I can even do three, but don't give me seven.
don't give me seven, and then immediately five, and followed up with a seven to a four to a three.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, top notch musicianship. You can't deny that. But
Yeah.
when, like you said, 42 musicians, it's like, dude, did you really need to do that? Oh, we just got to find the right
Mm.
take. It's like, well, you're not going to, lessen that pretentiousness argument by putting out there. It's kind of like today's pop music where you get 12 people writing and producing a single song. There's no cohesive, well, maybe that's not a good example because Steely Dan's a lot more cohesive than a lot of these pop songs today. But my big takeaway is I just don't hear or feel the passion in this music.
I got that. I got that. So let's talk about what we are passionate about then, Matt, because
Yeah.
I know what album that you picked.
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the outfield play
Here we
D. I
go.
think it's right
Yeah.
over this shoulder right here.
That's it.
Here.
Yep.
Big
Yep.
I was really surprised this didn't
It had some
win.
votes. It did.
It did, but because it is one of the best pop rock albums of all time, and it lost to Steely Dan. But that could just be me because it is one of my favorite records of all time. So it's probably in these mythological, status with me,
Mhm.
and not everybody. And I have to think, hey, Matt, not everybody thinks the way you do. But I did look at the streaming numbers on Spotify, and Your Love has got over 1 trillion streams,
Yeah.
right? And to me, that is a huge song. But then
Mhm.
you get to All Love in the World, it's under 200 million. And then the rest of the songs in this album were like 1 million, 7 million,
Yeah, but
2
Your
million.
Love was on Grand Theft Auto. Like it was a Grand Theft
Oh,
Auto.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Back in the
okay.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But it just, take this away from me. If you haven't listened to this whole album, or if it's just been a long time, it's well worth your while.
It's a good
Take
album.
it,
Yeah.
take the whole album in from beginning to end. There's not a dud on here, as I like to
Mhm.
say about albums that I love. Mystery Man, you might think it's not a good song at first, but then no, it is a good song. It fits in with the whole album. There's John Spanks can just write great pop rock songs.
Yeah.
Tony
Yeah.
Lewis has such a distinct voice. Alan
Mhm.
Jackman, his drumming is perfect for what these songs need. And everything he does, every beat, every fill, it just fits so perfectly. And Tony Lewis and John Spanks, their voices are so different, but they
But when
harmonize
they sing together,
so
yeah.
well
Yeah.
together. And
Yeah.
it's one of these albums that I listen. I don't know if I've ever stopped to listen to this. I listen to this a few times every year since it came out. It's fun to just sing along to. You can trade off harmonies left and right, going, I'm going to sing the John part. I'm going to sing the Tony part. I'm going to do it all because, it's like 36 minutes or something. I'm going to listen to this album
Yeah.
three
Yeah. Yeah.
times in a row and I'm just going to keep hit and repeat because this album is just, it's perfect for me.
During lockdown, when I was starting to get into podcasting, I did the Desert Island show,
Yeah.
and you were one of the guests on my show.
The first
And
guest.
you were the first, I'm sorry, you were the first guest. And you brought this album as a Desert Island album. And I'll never forget when I sent the first episode out there into the ether, and my buddy Lenny came back to me within probably a day or two of it being out there, and he was just like, "Man, I just listened to the first album or the first episode, and I had to go listen to that Outfield album because Matt brought it up, and he was just giving it nothing but praise, talking about how
Oh,
great it was,
awesome.
and it was so cool that somebody who had not heard this song back, or not that, but the album back in the '80s, was able to pick up on it back in 2023
Great.
and
Love it.
say, this is an amazing, great album. I'm so happy that I heard this, picked it up from the show. Yeah, he absolutely loved it. Great album.
Good to
There's
hear.
nothing I can really say to add on to what you said. Uh, it's this is one of those albums that I would say is timeless. There's nothing
Yeah.
that's
It
wrong with
is a
it.
desert island album for
It
me.
is.
I can't live without it.
Yeah, I can understand that. So my choice.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You can't find this on Wikipedia. It's not there. It's not listed as one of the
Really?
albums that's released. So I'm not quite sure how it got released, but it was released in December of 1990. And it's The Alarm. And it's this album called Standards. It's a compilation of songs that I think they're from Wales, the Welsh band The Alarm
Okay.
released
Okay.
over the '80s. So it's kind of like a greatest hits, but I wouldn't say necessarily these were huge hits. The Alarm were never a big radio band. You may know Sold Me Down the River. You might know Rain in the Summertime. But I think the album itself is okay. It's kind of like basic rock and roll British music up until you get to the song The Spirit of '76
Mm.
on Standards. And from that point forward, you get the last two songs I mentioned, and the album just goes on and it sounds great. The Spirit of '76 is one of those songs that I used to ride around in my car and sing along to, and I loved it so much. And I don't know what drew me to it, but yeah, it was just
Mm.
one of those songs that was part of my life during the era of 1990. And I probably never shared it with anybody at that time because it's not one of those like, oh, I've got Nelson, which is pop music, or I've got The Alarm. Nobody wanted to listen to The Alarm. And this song's like 6 or 7 minutes long. Um, but I was in Liverpool maybe about 6, 7 years ago, and I was standing on Matthew Street where the cavern is, where the Beatles came out of.
Okay.
And I was standing there and I'm looking up the sign, and I looked at it and I thought to myself, when we first met on Matthew Street, where we heard something that had set us free,
Yeah.
the sign stands over the door that says Four Lads That Shook the World. And all of a sudden I realized the Mersey is the river that runs out of Liverpool
Okay.
to sea. all of a sudden I realized there I was, this song in 1990 that I'd sung along to in my car over and over again that I loved so much. What are we doing? 90, 2010s, 20s. So we're going
Yeah.
ahead, 30 plus years. And all of a sudden I'm standing on the street and having this epiphany about,
Wow.
holy shit, I'm standing on the street of the song that I was singing about when I was a kid in America, and it's about, oh, this is about the Beatles. I didn't even
Yeah.
know.
Wow. I now that you mention that, I remember those lyrics in the song, and I'm like, oh, they're giving like a little bit band biography,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then
but it's shared experience on their
And I
part.
also think I've always kind of liked the song because of having played in bands and
Mm.
knowing, and then Matt went to work for IBM and he used to play bass, but now he's one of them.
Them. Wow, Jim got his rhyming dictionary out for that. Sick burn.
Just so people know out there, Matt was the very first person to ever play bass for me in any of my live performances, performing songs I'd written. So, Matt, you're my
I
original
didn't
bass
know that.
player. Yeah,
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 cherry poppin' daddies right there, my friend.
that's
Yeah.
you.
Mhm. so this so this makes a lot more sense to me with this album. I didn't realize it was a compilation, and I didn't really do any research because every song I'm listening to, I'm like, Jesus, this really sounds like it could be early 80s.
Yeah.
Right? It just had that sound. I'm like, 1990. Boy, they were really dialing it back. Well, it turns out, yeah, I got the Wikipedia page up here. I'm like, yeah, 1981. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
God,
I
okay.
think it was
That
Rain.
makes so much more sense.
I think it was Rain in the Summertime that had a music video possibly in 88 or 89.
Yep.
And it came on like Alternative Nation one night. And I
Yeah.
saw the video and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I found the cassette at one of our stores in our
Yep.
little Vermont town.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
it fit in with what I was getting. Like, I was definitely getting like little hints of it. U2 or
Mhm.
maybe not specifically big country, but just kind of like
More
that
towards that.
tone,
Yeah, yeah,
like that
yeah.
tone of music. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed listening to this album.
Good.
Really awesome.
I'm glad you
And I
enjoyed
think
it.
you brought, what is it, 68 guns, 78 guns?
Mm,
That
no, no, it was Spirit of 76. I brought
Spirit
that
of
to the show.
76.
That's on the big playlist.
Okay. I thought it was
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
remember the name of the song.
I've told this story before, but it was an audio, so that's why I have to retell it
Oh yeah, yeah.
on
I think I'm just
YouTube.
conflating the two songs.
That's fine. I appreciate the fact that you let me tell it again and
Hey,
didn't be
new
like,
audience, Jim. New
yeah,
audience. Old stories are new.
yeah.
We can be that guy
You
at
were
the end of
probably
the
drinking
bar
heavily that
saying,
night. Yeah.
"What night am I not?" No, just kidding. I
Okay.
don't have a drinking problem. Not at
I have a
all.
problem drinking.
I can drink whenever I want. Okay, I think that wraps us up. We're done
Yes.
with November,
And we're
and
done with album anniversaries. We're going to put it to rest.
we're going to
Yeah.
wrap up the year
Yeah.
2025
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
25
Yep.
a
Yep.
la old school jam yearbook
Mhm.
style. We'll come at you with our top five each, maybe bitch and complain about how shitty new music
We'll
is
put
or
a poll up on the
whatever.
Facebook page and we'll add to the playlist because we'll do that every year. I think if there's
Yeah.
one show that will be an exception as we go forward, it will always be that year-end wrap up that will be a little bit longer with.
Yeah, because now you can like real life kind of keep up with new music as
Yeah.
opposed to when we were doing like 2020. It's like, oh shit, I gotta dissect
Yeah.
a single
Now it's
year in
just
the
what's new.
2020s of bullshit
Hmm.
pop music. I gotta weed through all that trash. I hate pop music.
Hey, show's
Uh
evolving and we're gonna keep
yes.
growing with it and learning from
Yes,
it.
we are. If you're
Yeah.
not growing, you're dying, man. And we gotta grow.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
All
So
right.
hey, yeah. Hey, buddy, what are
Mhm.
you doing? No. Hey, we want to thank everybody
My
for
hands are up
joining
here.
us. Mine are up here. Okay, hands, everybody. Let's make sure no hanky panky stuff is going on. No Jim Jams in the background there, Jimmy. So, hey, thank you for tuning in to the Jam Yearbook. Keep coming back because the show is going to be changing, evolving. Hopefully, we're going to shorten it up. Maybe make it more appealing to somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of time to sit down and listen to us yammer on for 45 minutes to an hour about shit, they made me not like.
And if you have up until now, thank you. Maybe we'll have more shows
Yes.
for you, and we'll make it more fun and interesting. So yeah.
Alrighty. Hey,
All right.
come
We'll
back
see-
here next time. We're going to wrap up 2025.
We'll do that. Peace, love, and podcast.
Lost in a memory, caught in a reverie.
Boom. I gotta pee.
Same here.
All right. I'll be right back.